Imagine your town and all you know. Hundreds of people, streets, hotels, stores, and a large courthouse. Imagine all of it vanishing without a trace, down to the last brick of the courthouse, as if it was never there. As much as this sounds like science fiction, this is exactly what happened to the town of Palestine, Indiana, just southeast of modern-day Bedford. Some people say it was just bad planning. Some say it was just a pandemic, while others claim it was a curse brought upon the town after an ancient burial ground was disturbed. This is the tale of Old Palestine, Indiana. Archaeologists tell us of an ancient people that lived in North America over 10,000 years ago. They had a complex civilization, built ceremonial mounds of earth, as well as city walls and tomb vaults made of stone. Unlike the Native Americans that settled in Indiana much later, they made unusual artwork, complex pottery, and even musical instruments. They chose to settle along major rivers, where they could easily travel by boat to distant places. They created cities on rocky outcrops above these rivers, where they could see who was coming and going, such as here along the White River in present-day Lawrence County, Indiana. At what would later become Palestine, Indiana, they built at least one major mound of earth, a burial vault that had both ceremonial and religious importance. But for some reason, these ancient people simply vanished, leaving only tantalizing clues of their culture. From the air, at what's now known as Old Palestine, a large hill along the White River forms a triangle. In the early 1800s, settlers to the area believed that this would be the perfect spot for a great new city, just like the ancient peoples before them. In May of 1818, land was bought and plans were made. Advertisements were placed in Louisville, Vincennes, Salem, and Madison newspapers, encouraging people to come and buy lots for the city on the hill. While bidding for this ambitious new project brought in cash quickly, the bank-issued money was later found to be completely worthless. Faced with a large capital dilemma, the county fathers hosted an event to auction the worthless money with a bonus of whiskey with every sale. Problem solved. A central square with courthouse and surrounding businesses came to life on paper. There were 276 lots on 200 acres. But to begin work, what was left by ancient people had to be leveled. And to some, that was the start of all the bad luck that followed. Each time a well was dug, human bones were found, and this was all over the town of Palestine. The entire hilltop was the burial ground for ancient people. A large, two-story brick courthouse was completed in August of 1822. Its first level was 16 feet tall and the second 14 feet. The walls were 2 feet thick. It was pretty substantial. All told, its stone foundation was 45 feet by 45 feet. It had 3 large doors, 36 windows, 4 chimneys, and 6 fireplaces. The courthouse even had a large brass eagle at its top. The courthouse likely looked much like this one at Shoals, Indiana. The courthouse also doubled as the town library, as it was the largest building in the city. And all the plaster on the building was completed by Lawrence County's father of the limestone industry, Dr. Winthrop Foote. Log buildings surrounded the courthouse, and a small economy flourished. By 1825, the population was about 600 people. Things were looking up, and the town even put in a bid to be Indiana's state capital, positioned beautifully above the White River. There were 2 general stores, a hotel, saloon, cabinet shop, tannery, and the town even had 2 attorneys, and Dr. Winthrop Foote was one of them. The town was big enough to need law enforcement, and Joseph Glover was the first sheriff. There was so much lawlessness that it required a 2-story jail made out of logs. The price of progress, and having a well-stocked local saloon. At the height of its glory, a mysterious sickness fell upon the town. People started to get chills and fevers and were confined to bed. It shut down most of the town and its businesses. People called the sickness ague. While never confirmed, the symptoms resembled malaria. People were dying at an alarming rate, and most outsiders were afraid to travel to Palestine. Palestine was much like Hindustan, Indiana to the southwest. Just like Palestine, Hindustan had a beautiful waterfront, mounds made by ancient people, and a terrible plague of sickness that wiped out the community after the burial mounds were destroyed. Fearing that the same fate would happen to Palestine's people, the town leaders decided to move the town. They would move it away from both the river and what seemed like a terrible curse. Identical lots would be traded for the area that's now downtown Bedford, Indiana. The log buildings were moved, log by log, to Bedford. And the once great courthouse was sold to Moses Fell, who dismantled the entire building and took it away. While many were against the move, there really was no choice. People were dying so frequently, the unmarked pieces of limestone were being used as gravestones. The town that had hoped to be the capital of Indiana died in just 7 years. The story of Palestine takes an interesting turn with a man named John Collett. Born in 1828 in Vermilion County, John Collett was one of Indiana's first state geologists. Standing 6'2" and with a passion for prehistory, he was very much like Indiana Jones. He did thorough studies of mastodon bones found in Indiana, writing that when they were discovered during the building of Indiana's canal, the marrow in their bones was so well preserved that workers used it to wax their boots. Collett also helped map Wyandotte Cave in southern Indiana with Professor E.T. Cox. Studies would find that ancient people mined Wyandotte Cave for chert, and this was used to make weapons and tools. These items, made from Indiana chert, were traded all the way to the East Coast, even in prehistoric times. John Collett gained a solid reputation for documenting both Indiana's geology and prehistory. He was the go-to person for all things ancient. In 1870, he came to the Thomas Dodd Farm, the area that had previously been Palestine, about 45 years before. He investigated a curious mound of stones southeast of where the courthouse once sat. According to an 1884 account, this is what John Collett found. The mound was 20 feet across and surrounded by a circular wall of stones. At the surface was found pottery fragments and stone axes, much like many mounds found in North America. But as Collett dug deeper, it proved to be an extraordinary find. Below the mound was a large stone burial vault with 3 levels separated by flagstone. The initial level held the skeletons of many women and children. The second level, below another layer of flagstone, were the bones of many men. And below yet another layer of flagstone was the final level, 6 feet below the surface. It held 2 large skeletons, laying side by side. Both were around 6.5 feet tall. Their heads were both laid to the east, and their faces deliberately laid to look to the north, as if that was where they had came from, or where they hoped to go. Arrowheads and flint were found beside the 2 bodies, suggesting they were warriors. However, the larger skeleton had both a war whistle and what was described as hammered copper earrings. Both items would suggest that this was the leader of a forgotten people. By the 1884 historical recount, these artifacts were taken to the Indiana State Museum back in 1870. In 2021, the Indiana State Museum was contacted about the Dodd Mound and whatever happened to the stone axes, pottery, arrowheads, war whistle, copper earrings, and especially the 2 large skeletons found at Palestine. While the State Museum acknowledges the Dodd Mound, there is no record of any artifacts or skeletons taken from Palestine in the museum's collection. According to their records, the mound was never investigated as it was already destroyed and gone by the time they knew about it. But this is not surprising. The original State Museum collection started in 1862 and only amounted to 1 cabinet kept by the state librarian in Indianapolis. By 1888, it had grown large enough to fill up a large room on the 3rd floor of the Indiana State Capitol. This is where the Palestine artifacts would have been. By 1919, the collection had grown even larger and was moved downstairs to the state capitol basement, where it stayed for 45 years. In 1967, the museum was moved once again, this time several blocks away to the old City Hall building on Ohio Street. Bear in mind that this was before the computer age and modern catalog systems. In 2002, the museum and its collection was moved to its present location at White River State Park, a few blocks southwest of its original state capitol home. And like the huge warehouse in the Indiana Jones movie, the artifacts found at Palestine may be there, but may never be found. There are literally millions of items in the museum's collection. The contents may be buried under nearly 160 years of Indiana history. Today, there is no trace of the city of Palestine, Indiana, or even its ancient past. There are no brick-lined roads, old buildings, or other relics to say what was once there. There is only a sign that says Palestine on private property that leads to a farm. The stone ridge that has stood for eons stands defiantly for ages to come. It's a place where a tall courthouse once overlooked the White River, and the destiny of a mighty city seemed certain. An old train trestle that could have brought people and commerce from far away slowly falls into the river as the years go by. What man has made, nature reclaims, with nothing permanent but the ever-flowing waters and the careless wind blowing away the memories of what could have been.